So we're looking at the same camera, right?
Yep, and we are live.
All right. Hi, guys. How are you all? So today we are having a blast here on the couch. We changed things up a little bit because, like the title says, it's Pam and the Purple Couch podcast. So tonight we got Dr. Manny on the couch as we're talking to all of our families. You can look up to some picture with the pillow.
It's a comfortable.
Pam does nonverbal expression with the pillow. It's been a rough day, man.
It's been a long day.
And I'm going to say rough. You're right. Long day. It is
hours dragged a little bit.
Wednesday that we're in doing some amazing stuff, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, we're going to be live in 4 minutes. Go!
Got a little adrenaline rush.
So,
walking in here.
You ready to tell them?
Yeah, I'm very excited.
So we figured today we're going to talk about something that we have been working on for, well, the last year, really for the last maybe 2.5 years for myself, and finding how do we get our secret sauce documented, publicized, validated, and then brought to the world. Mm-hmm. And in the last 3 months, I am so grateful and so blessed that I've been introduced to some of the most amazing individuals over at HeartMath. So we want to tell you a little bit about HeartMath Institute. They are a research platform talking about heart and brain coherence. Yep. They have many published works. It is neuroscience that is backed by many scientific journals and board certified behavioral analysts.
Yes, definitely. It's
especially in our field.
Yeah, it's an eclectic group of researchers from areas of physiology, medicine, psychology, behavior analysis. And what I've really enjoyed about kind of diving into their research is it's across multiple disciplines: education, healthcare, organizational research. It's fantastic, and it's really about looking at how neuroscience meets emotional regulation and behavior change.
It's like the secret sauce. Right. Shh, don't tell anyone. No, the reason I'm glowing is because we are not only doing one research project, we have 3 on the works. We are super excited about it. I'm going to pass it over because as Dr. Manny is my researcher, I'm going to let you read what we have decided to come up with. But we today finalized what these 3 research topics are going to be called. We knew where we wanted to go. We knew where we needed to show the research and the data, because we are seeing evolution within our ABA clinic on how nonverbal children are de-escalating on their own, which is the beautiful part, simply by using heart and brain coherence. So it is a non-invasive approach. And the reason I say non-invasive is because if you look up ABA, you either love it or you hate it.
Yeah. And
I think that's a lot to do with the methodologies you and I were introduced to 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. When we think about how ABA in itself has transformed, this is just the next step.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we were talking to some of the researchers already, there are now publications in Harvard, at NIH talking about emotions.
Yep.
And love,
compassion.
Never when we started this would we have seen a research paper that says someone's love for another can cause a variance in their emotional stability. And it's like, yeah, what is that love? No, let's just throw that out,
Even in applied behavior analysis, the concept of compassionate care for service providers who are doing ABA, for those of us that have been around for 20, 30 years, that is very new language. That's very new philosophy. It's pretty exciting.
Yes.
I appreciate it because for someone that kind of bridges the gap between hard ABA, right? Data collection, hard ABA, and the personal connection.
Yes.
Of working with families, working with kids, dealing with the emotional side of it. That compassionate care really made sense.
Well, when we've traveled together, I think that's our balance in the yin and yang, that there's mama love here that will take every child underneath her wing and forget the parents. I'm like, I'm just going to adopt this kid until we can get them through the crisis. And I'm not here for the parents. I've said that from day one. You either love me or you hate me. Parents, I'm here to guide and to give knowledge and resources, but my mission is here for these children.
Right.
Our children need someone advocating for them when they don't have that voice. Not just that, as we've talked, many of our parents, for the first 90 days of coming into our program, are in crisis themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Think about how many times the public school has broken parents. Well, your kid isn't doing this, and what's wrong with your child, or what? Really? Take a step back.
Right.
You know, what were we just talking about in the conference room? I watched this video of a teacher, and guys, you all know me. This is why it's our tight-knit community here. Just pissed me off because she was talking about not every child needs an AEP. Every child can't have an IEP. I can't do my job if I'm trying to take and make accommodations for 13 students out of the 30 I have in the classroom. I'm like, well, that's a federal binding contract, so you better figure some way out, or you need to advocate to your administrator. Because if you have a classroom that dictated that all 30 of those kids needed individualized education plans, well, somebody is either not teaching them to their level, needs a little more training, or administration needs to come in and take a look at the classroom.
Yep.
But we fought so hard for our students to have a voice and to have free and equal education that we need to ensure that educators don't get lazy. And yes, I said it, love me or hate me, but you and I both have been through it with our kids in the public school system and seeing in the private school and charter system that it is a different walk of life.
Yep, they do get lazy. They get complacent. They don't take data. They use subjective reasoning, or they use their own subjective observations, and it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help the kid. It doesn't help the family.
I am a huge fangirl of the education boss. Okay. Huge fangirl. And she is an advocate nationwide. And if you ask her, out of her, 15, 20 years of advocacy for students, how many IEPs were actually effectively written? This is where we go back into the get rid of the lazy teachers. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So parents, where does this lead us? Well, this is where our research is going. What we wanted to see was, how is it in the last 5 years since COVID, our clinic and our private school have both gone through the curse that's worldwide, turnover. We see it on both sides. Not only do we have to fight that social media norm of educator burnout, but we're also looking at clinicians, registered behavioral technicians, BCBAs, too many jobs available, not even enough that are on the market, not even certified. One of the headhunters that we use for executive positions, I was talking to them one day about, how are the changes in the market? How's everything going? And they're like, oh, we don't even do RBTs anymore. And I was like, why not? I was like, you would think with such a high demand, with 1 in 31 kids having some form of ASD, this would be prime target market for you. Turnover is all crazy. And she was like, nope, these RBTs go for the highest paying person at that moment in time, and nothing else matters. And I'm like, oh. Yeah. These are the kids that are dealing with our kids. These are the staff that are in the trenches dealing with our neurodivergent families. So we got to shift. How do we shift? Well, you and I know what we did here.
Yep.
And in the last 3 years, our turnover rate is at 2.8% based on our HR director. Now, we do surveys, we check in with the atmosphere of our teams. But guys, the national standard is between 45 and 52% in our field.
It's horrendous.
And here we are, and we know we even hate it when that small turnover rate, because you spend so much time investing. Tell, show, do, until we all are on the same page. So how did we make this change? Well, guys, that's what our research with HeartMath Institute is doing. We want to bring validated information to the masses on how we have gotten coherent.
Yeah, and that's a good, so with each one of these research projects, there's a couple of key terms that if they're not familiar with, let's just hit them with it, right?
Sounds good.
So first, coherence. So what is coherence? Coherence is, in a very, very simple way to explain it, it's the mind, the heart, and the behaviors all in alignment, right? If you ever had a bad day, your emotions are out of whack, your heart rate's escalating, your behaviors are out of whack, right?
Absolutely.
So nothing's in coherence when your heart rate is super elevated or your emotions are getting the best of you, kind of thing. So what is coherent? Well, coherence is my mind's right, my heart rate is calm, but my behavior also demonstrates that.
Yes.
Right. And so being in coherence, and we can all kind of emulate that, right? That'll make for productivity, that'll make for efficiency, that'll make for good communication, good collaboration. Even at the personal level, like your relationships get better.
Absolutely.
Right? You just have a better way of approaching situations and problems and things like that.
Or in our field, you have a kid that is screaming at you, calling you everything but a nice person, and you love and care about this kid, just like many of our families.
Yep.
And they're like, yeah, but Johnny is cussing me out from the time he walks in the door until he goes to sleep. He's telling me I'm everything but the worst person. I'm like, okay, well, where were you at while he was yelling at you?
Right.
And I think that's been the biggest change for our clinicians when we took the approach of the WTF days.
Yes.
Not what the ain't, but what is the function of the behavior? We actually started doing that for our staff, just like our kids, when we started realizing that if our kids didn't sleep well that evening, that is a time for natural environment teaching. That means if we're going to have Play-Doh out, we're going to do some art, we're in that natural environment, but yet we're still getting prompts, but in a least restrictive, go with the flow of your client day. Well, one of the tips that we can give you before the research is we took that to our staff's level as well. Our staff might not have slept well. Our staff might have had some home problems. Our staff might have had car problems. Well, then you need to come in, advocate, like we tell our children, to be like, hey, Manny, I'm having a WTF day.
WTF.
I need your help. I need your assistance. Then you allow the workforce support system to come into play.
Yeah.
So now that means that our directors can go, okay, you know what? I almost said the name of a child, and for extreme HIPAA purposes, little Sally, you get to be with little Sally today. Oh my goodness, you mean the girl that just smiles and everything is great? And I'm pseudonyming this because it's a little boy that's at our early intervention clinic that everybody loves to work with.
Yep.
Well, when a staff member comes in and they're not regulated and they know it and acknowledge it, coming to us is the support system. So when we started doing little things like that, and we started seeing, oh, we've got this huge applicant list that are trying to get in the front door, and we also have staff that aren't turning over, and then we started training staff on top of it, we also started looking at how did that affect our executive team?
Mm-hmm.
Well, like you were saying, we started seeing changes in our home life.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a sec.
I'm a personal testament to that. I was kind of a non-believer at first and try to dig into the science and make sure that the data made sense to me. But once you start practicing these techniques, which is the second part of, so coherence is one, but the second part is there are techniques around how to self-regulate.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to give it all away, right? But
not yet. It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming, right? But these techniques are all about self-regulation. And so what Pam brought to our team, what we were bringing to our teams and to our families is that technique. And it's beyond just de-escalation techniques. Yes. It's beyond just kind of traditional ABA prompting, differential reinforcement, things that we've talked about in this cast before. It's more than that, right? It's about self-management, self-regulation, self-adhering to what's going on inside so that what comes out is more coherent.
So we've talked about training. You know, I wear a Whoop. No credit or anything like that, but there's, rings now that track it. There's your Apple Watch that track it. There's Fitbits that track it. We have all this technology at our disposal. So how do we take that reference? Because again, the data.
Yep.
So HeartMath and some of the companies that have worked with them, the difference between collecting data and training.
Yeah.
So they now have electronic devices that we are using throughout the entire company, body tracking devices, training devices. I am so super excited because not only are we putting these things into place, but then we're also giving our staff tools, just like you would train for a marathon. They're training on staying in coherence, even in the toughest situations, which is like the child that I'm talking about.
Right.
So let's just rip the Band-Aid off. You ready?
Go for it.
So coming from Puzzle Box Academy in collaboration with HeartMath Institute, these are our 3 new research projects releasing starting February 2nd of this year.
So the first one we titled Building Coherence Together, the Impact of Heart-Focused Breathing on Team Resilience and Workplace Relationships. This project is intended to be focused on our team. So our executive management team, our clinical team, and our educators. And the whole purpose of this is to really focus on the adult learner, the adult, the worker,
Correct.
being able to get to that point of coherence.
Absolutely. So it's like what we were talking about is that and now I'm going to go a little science on you guys, but there is an electromagnetic field that each one of us carry. Okay. This is just our torque field that's around us. And so if we shift that energetic field, does it affect the children around them? Okay. We're looking at this data, but when we're looking at team approach, we want to know, just like what we were talking about earlier, what's the function?
What's the function?
By doing something at a team level, causing this cohesion to work together, fire together, wire together, all of these little coaching codes and terms, can we see inner balance within themselves? That's really what we want to know. We want to know is, has your personal, not just business, performance, regulation, coming to work, has it brought you more joy by implementing these techniques?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the first one, right? So practice what we preach. The second one is titled.
Hold on. Oh. You know me. I got to jump in. I'm laughing because Manny goes, practice what you preach. And I'm like, and have the data to support it.
That's right.
It didn't happen if you don't have data.
So the second one is, speaking of data, measuring coherence in practice, a psychological study of clinician regulation during neurodivergent client support. So what does that mean? It means that we're going to take it into our clinical realm. So we have board certified behavior analysts, we have registered behavior techs, all focus on the same goal, which is to support their clients, our clients being neurodivergent children. And what we have never really studied in the field of ABA, even in HeartMath studies, right, they've never really looked at the day in the life of a clinician. So if you're a parent with a neurodivergent child, or maybe you're a professional that works with this population, you know that the day in the life is topsy-turvy. It's a little bit hectic some days. But what does that look like in terms of measurable data, in terms of one of the key ingredients of HeartMath, which is the single metric that is universally applied in the world of medicine and physiology, which is the heart rate variability.
Yes.
And so,
well, think about that. People are using that on their fitness trackers. We look about it. How is it when you sleep? Where is that resting heart rate? Where is the heart rate variability during the day? How are you getting coherent? We don't want to see that line straight across. You know, right, we watched too many medical shows growing up, this fake medical world where they wanted to hear wink, wink, wink,
right,
wink.
Steady.
Yeah. No, our hearts don't work that way.
Nope.
What we want to see is, how can our hearts handle those pressures coming in, but then can you get back into balance?
Right.
That's the important part that we're going after.
And I'm excited for this research project because I feel like in the field of ABA, there's kind of a underlying assumption that the clinicians are in control all the time because they're self-regulated all the time.
Bullshit.
And we call bullshit. We do. We say it all the time. So it takes a lot of practice, takes a lot of coaching and supervision and modeling and all the things. But measuring that has been left to subjectivity.
Correct.
And so we're trying to bring more objectivity to this important matter of
absolutely
the life of a clinician.
Well, you know, let's think about this is when we want to know why RBTs are burning out. We want to know why our first level of care, preschool workers, are burning out.
Right.
You know, why are they burning out? Okay, well, if we have moms and dads dealing with this with no support, no help at home, now we're going to understand why divorce rates have increased. We're going to understand why. And guys, I hate to say it, it's what's triggering me with some of this research. So we have a 12% increase in the suicide rate.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I don't believe in coincidences. You know that. My team knows that. Everything's a synchronicity to me. It's whether or not we can put the piece together. So it's funny. We see a 12% increase in suicide rate, school shootings, mental health, just completely. And then we also go back and we look at the neurodivergent population. All of a sudden, we're at 1 in 31 in the United States. That's 1 in 31 ASD children, autism spectrum disorders, guys. That doesn't include OCD, ODD, ADHD, severe ADHD, the alphabet soup that we see all the time in our world.
Right.
So if we're at 1 in 31 kids, we can basically say 1 in 4 children have some type of alphabet soup clinically to be diagnosed with. So you add that, and then you look at the other, data doesn't lie. So then we start looking, suicide rate is increasing, divorce rate is increasing. Mental health globally is at an all-time critical level. This is high risk, high risk, high risk. So get your shoes on, get your baton or whatever that was with the marching band, and we're going to go bang the damn drum, and we're going to let people know that we've got to first regulate here. And when we regulate here, it will follow us into the workplace. It'll follow us into our home lives. And children with learned behavior will then start emulating, not only based on the way that you are handling responses,
right,
but also inadvertently, what I am hypothesizing on this research is that simply by your magnetic field, you will be able to cause an impact. Oh, that kind of leads us to...
No, you just did a crazy segue. That was great. But before we do that, I want to highlight something you said, because it's one of the reasons why I'm excited that we're doing this day in the life study for specifically like RBTs, BCBAs. So over the last maybe 10 years, there's been a lot of research in the field of ABA in particular, but also in healthcare in general, where they talk about burnout. And there's been all these studies, surveys mostly, surveying people on the various factors of why they're burnt out. And I always like to debunk it because a lot of the reasons are pay or hours worked or number of clients that they serve and blah, 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 blah. However, somebody that's been doing this for a long time, I find that very interesting, that there are people that can manage huge caseloads, huge number of hours, whatever. And I subjectively, until now, I feel like there's a key differentiator between somebody that can manage high intense behaviors, high number of hours, high caseloads versus somebody that can't. And it's not pay. It's not number of hours worked. It's whether they have the ability to approach such dynamics in a way that they can manage through it. So I take myself as an example. Like I feel like I can manage a big caseload. I can manage number of hours. I can manage different dynamics of kids compared to some of my colleagues. Why? It has nothing to do with my pay versus their pay or number of hours work, because I work lots of hours, but it's more about my approach to it all, how I approach it versus how they approach it. And I think a lot of it might be coherence. So I just want to take it to back it up.
While you're saying that, it's two things. All right, guys, this is live, so I'm honest with you all. So I have two things. Number one, from a executive standpoint, hearing you state that remember, guys, I was corporate world before becoming this parent. So for me, when I hear you, I hear, oh, can you imagine in the hiring process how much of an impact this research can do? Mm-hmm. Because when you're talking about, can you handle the caseload? And it's not a can you, it's do you have the skill set?
Do you have the ability?
And in our field, let's just be real, it's tough. We are dealing with youth, with children. I mean, sometimes the cases, and we go, oh, Pam, sometimes they're 4 years old and they're already not physically in the greatest position, mentally, definitely not in the greatest position. You see parents that are in crisis, and sometimes we've dealt with, abuse, parents that have lost custody, children that are living with outside relatives so that they are not in the foster system. And on the other reverse side, we've seen kids that are in the foster system because the home life has been so erratic. We see all of this, and so do the RBTs, Clinicians United. It's not because they don't want to deal with the behavior, but if you have, and I can tell you out of 12 years and multiple BCBAs, when we talked about writing a coffee book, we really need to do that. But in 12 years, being able to see clinicians with years of experience, clinicians with brand new experience, I'm like you, I would normally have said that the more that they're exposed, the easier that they can handle and manage, but it's not the case. It's how well they can handle their own inner balance, their own regulation, self-regulating, because if you cannot self-regulate and you have a child that screams for 4 hours, or I had to remind one of my staff members that one of the kids we have here at our junior senior high is the same kid that about knocked me out 2 years ago. And that staff member looked at me and was like, no way. And I was like, yeah, don't you remember when I came in and I was like, hey, I just want to let you know. They're like, what happened? I was like, I got into it with a kid. And I remember it clear as day. And it was spending that time. And I remember him looking at me when I told him how much I cared about him, even as he was violent. And I'm like, no, man, I still love you. I'm here for you. It's okay. We're going to work this out. Here it is now 3 years later. He's in junior senior high, loves Miss Pam to death. And I love this child to death. He is one of my favorites, because this little boy has such an amazing future in front of him. But if I was not in the position, and I'll use this as self-reflection, because I can talk about my own growth using this work. If I was 8 years ago and this kid punched me the way that he took the swing and connected, response team would have immediately came in and I would have been like, oh my, geez, Lord help me. Yeah, no, and it wasn't that. It was instantly, I took it to the chin, and thank gosh I don't have a glass chin. And I'm like, no, little man, I'm a mom. I'm a superwoman. So what you got next for me? And I didn't turn my back on the kid. And I swear to you that I'm sitting here today, it's the same way with our BCBAs. If a child telling you to F off, punching you, pulling your hair, oh man, you wouldn't have that to worry about,
They could pull this. Many have tried.
We've got, I've got permanent bite marks that I'm scarred with. But if you are not regulated yourself, oh my gosh, talking to you. John, sorry, it's my producer. I just want to let you know. I'm thinking about a former employee we had. RBT trained, also black belt. And one of our kids, talk about being able to self-regulate. Great employee, wonderful man, wonderful person. But as soon as he got swung on by a kid, the first thing that his training taught him was to block and push away. And I'm like, oh, no, not in my office. You don't, baby. Your kids, no, you put the baby gloves on and you love and you pamper, even if you're getting it, but that right there is the prime. And it's what popped in my head when we're thinking about this. If you cannot regulate and keep yourself in balance, then a child that is high level of aggression, what we would call a complex case, you're not going to be able to handle. Because you're going to take that home with you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think this is a good segue to go into our last research project, because this is exactly why we're doing this. So the last research project is titled Dyadic Coherence and Co-Regulation. There's a scientific mouthful for you. Biometric tracking of clinician-child psychological synchrony during HeartMath informed support. So what does all that mean?
This is my favorite.
In the therapy session, it's one-on-one. It's a RBT in a child or a BCBA in a child, right? There's very few times you would do a group situation. But what we wanted to study was if an RBT or a BCBA is in coherence, how does that or will that transfer to the child? So worst case scenario, child's in behavior. If the clinician can practice these techniques and stay and maintain in coherence without the excessive need of prompting or placing demands or redirecting or blocking or whatever, just being in that moment and being in coherence, how will that or will it transfer to the child? Meaning, will the behavior change? Will the child in turn be in coherence? So we want to study that. We want to measure that.
Yeah.
We want to measure it in real time. as well as train the individual on how to maintain coherence during those critical moments.
You see, I can't stop smiling.
I know, it's pretty cool. I mean, it's definitely one of those, all three are very, for me, I think very impressive research projects that we're just starting. And I think it's going to do great. But it's going to answer a lot of different research questions. And one way or another, we're going to learn a ton from all of this. On this third one, though, often behavior analysts in the world say, if it's the right prompting procedure, if it's the right ABA program, the behavior will change. Well, 20 plus years of experience tells you not really, not all the time. You know, if that child has any environmental variables, didn't sleep well, had a bad moment, whatever, it doesn't matter how great your program is. That kid ain't going to do nothing.
So, you know, I'm thinking of one of our kids right now. And I went in, it was right after New Year's when I went in and did my rounds to see all my babies. And he looked right up at me. And the RBT was struggling. He didn't want to stay at the table doing any of his work or anything. And so as soon as I came in, he wanted to play tickles. So I don't know if you're going to figure out who this is, but
I think I know who it is.
Instantly, complete hiding. He went behind the shelf, you know, and so I completely ignored him. I'm like, that doesn't, Miss Pam don't work with that. I don't come to you. You will come over to me. So I completely devoted attention over to another child. Completely avoidance, you know. And so the next thing I know, I'm on the floor. The other kid who beautifully came back and just makes me happy because he wanted to tell me all about what he was working on, and he was vocalizing it so beautifully. It was just a perfect situation. And before I left, here comes little tickle monster looking right up at me. And I looked right at him, and then he blushed and he went over to the RBT, sat down and started doing work. This is what I want documented, because there was no interaction except for the fact, not an option, avoidance, not going to get into that behavior. I don't go hide behind curtains. I don't know. You're supposed to be sitting at your table doing your work. When you sit down at your table, you'll get my attention. Same thing on the reverse side. You know, this is my passion because I am an energy worker. And so I know in my field what I have seen work. Now we're going to be able to come back with the research.
Yeah. And I think that's really, I think between the two of us, you more so, but what we've experienced is what's guiding us to do this research.
Yes.
All the research is really going to do is answer some questions and with some data. And that's exciting for those of us that like to publish, but also for those of us that just want the answers to the questions with real hard data.
Well, you know, clinicians may not like me on this, but this is for my moms and dads, aunts, uncles, grandmas, caregivers, anyone that is taking care of a neurodivergent child. As we know, there is a shortage of quality healthcare providers. Mm-hmm. Not all BCBAs, not all RBTs, and not all teachers are cut from the same cloth. Yep. So I say that. But I also sit back and I think about non-available resource. So in other countries, and we say that because this is a worldwide podcast and it's worldwide YouTube. So our Circle platform, we've got people from all other countries as well as the United States. And this isn't just hitting the United States, but we also don't have easy accessibility. Not either I don't have access to therapeutic options, or they're too expensive, or no insurance payment. We saw that in many other countries that you and I visited. Mm-hmm. There isn't universal health care, or there isn't a commercial insurance program that pays for it. So it's out of pocket. You know, just like when we were in Dubai, one of the most wealthiest, beautiful, I love Dubai. So I don't mean this in any way, but if you are not a resident of Dubai, education is your responsibility. ABA comes out of pocket because this is still brand new medicine and brand new understanding for them. So how do you get families the support they need? Right. If we can come in with what we know has already been effective in many cases and show this non-pharmaceutical, easy to train parents on methodology that can cause a shift in every home that can hear our voice, then let's get it on.
Let's go. Yeah.
I mean, and yes, I know that is not the capitalistic view, but what have I always said? We're not dealing with widgets.
Right.
These are our future. These are our kids that are going to be saving our oceans. These are our kids that are cleaning up the mess that we left.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. So guys, we're super excited. The next 90 days are going to be a roller coaster ride for Manny and I, but we're going to bring you with us along the way. You will be the first ones to know how the research came about. What did we find? The pros, the cons. Manny and I are going to hypothesize on each one of these ourselves because that's scientific way and method.
Yeah, gotta have a hypothesis.
So it'll be nice to see what comes out of this in the end. And guys, if it can cause one family out of 100 to be able to come back into alignment, then we've done our mission.
Absolutely.
So
for sure. Just
keep playing it forward, guys.
Yes.
So come back. We are going to be hitting back on the 18th, I believe, of February. By that time, all of our pre-assessment data will have already been completed. And we're going to be talking about some of our podcast episodes that are also coming up. I wanted to thank all of our families. We've got some amazing KPIs, key performance indicators. I saw my producer there, cha-ching ching, that are all coming out. And we're so happy to have you watching us. We really feel like our couch has come into your home. So remember to send us any of your questions or concerns. We will answer them. We will stop whatever we're talking about for that month. We will go back into our question forum starting on February the 18th. And if you all have also noticed, we have now opened this up to our YouTube audience. So in the comments below, ask us questions. We have our producers that will be going back in, fielding all those questions to get to Dr. Manny and myself. And your questions may be answered here on the couch. Either way it goes, we will either answer them on the couch or you'll get a direct email from Dr. Manny and myself. So guys, until then, we'll see you all soon.